The orphan girl and her dog took shelter in a car buried in the ground and abandoned. It was actually the car her mother had left her before she died. When the orphan girl got inside the car, she would experience the shock of her life because of what she found inside. The old Chevrolet sedan had been sitting in the Oregon woods for 2 years. Lily knew this. She was 8 years old and had counted every day, exactly 730 days. 730 days since she woke up not in her mother's arms but at the Riverside Children's Home. She was afraid of forgetting her mother's voice because she had already forgotten her scent. She always acted like she was okay, but being alone at such a young age was tearing her apart. Mrs. Brennan was the orphanage supervisor and had smiled at her every day. Lily had smiled back. But the woman's eyes never smiled. And now, running barefoot through the misty morning forest with Scout panting beside her, Lily was about to discover that some secrets refused to stay buried. What she would find in that car would change everything. But in that moment, all she knew was fear. We'll move on to the rest of the story, but first, if you've experienced an event that changed your life, please share it in the comments. The golden retriever suddenly stopped, his ears perking up as he stared at something through the dense underbrush. Lily froze, her heart hammering in her chest. Behind them, maybe half a mile back, she could still hear voices, men's voices, angry and getting closer. "Find that kid! Mrs. Brennan wants her back before sunrise." Lily's bare feet were bleeding from running over rocks and roots. Her light blue t-shirt torn at the shoulder from climbing out the bathroom window, her khaki pants soaked from crossing a stream. But she couldn't stop. Not after what she'd overheard last night. Mrs. Brennan on the phone, her voice low and cold. Yes, the Martinez girl. 8 years old. No family, no one asking questions. 5,000, same as always. The van comes Friday. Friday was tonight. In 6 hours, Lily would have been sold to whoever paid Mrs. Brennan $5,000 for an orphan child, with no one to miss her. So she'd run. Kicked out the bathroom window screen, dropped 15 feet into the rhododendron bushes below, and sprinted for the tree line. And Scout, her mother's golden retriever, the only piece of mom she had left, who Mrs. Brennan had threatened to send to the pound a dozen times, had been tied outside. One quick knot release and the dog was running beside her into the forest. Now, Scout was staring at something, his tail wagging slowly with recognition. What could possibly be out here that Scout recognized? Lily pushed through the wet ferns and stopped dead. There, almost completely hidden by 2 years of forest growth, was her mother's car. The vintage Chevrolet sedan was completely covered in bright green moss and climbing vines, transforming it into something that looked more like a forest creature than a vehicle. The old turquoise paint, Mom's favorite color, was barely visible beneath the thick carpet of growth. Its round headlights peered through the vegetation like eyes, its chrome bumper dulled by rust and moisture, its tires half buried in fallen leaves and needles. But it was unmistakably Mom's car, the same curved roofline. The same dent in the driver's side door from that time someone hit them in a parking lot. The same crack in the back window that Mom had kept meaning to fix but never got around to. Lily's breath caught in her throat. "Mom's car," she whispered. "Scout, it's Mom's car." Scout barked and ran to the driver's door, clawing at the moss covering it. He remembered. He remembered riding in this car hundreds of times, sticking his head out the back window, happily hanging his tongue out while his mother sang along to the radio. Scout clawed. He watched. Was anyone still inside? But why was it here, in the middle of the forest, 2 years after Mom died? Have you ever found something you thought was lost forever? That moment when the impossible becomes real? The smell hit her first when she pulled the door open. Stale air, mildew, and underneath it all, the faint scent of Mom's lavender perfume. Lily's eyes filled with tears. For a moment she was 6 years old again, safe and loved, Mom braiding her hair before school and humming that song she always hummed. She climbed into the driver's seat, Scout jumping in behind her into the back seat, and quietly closed the door. The springs in the old seat creaked. Moss fell from the ceiling onto her lap. But sitting here, hands on the steering wheel where Mom's hands had been, Lily felt closer to her mother than she had in 2 years. What would you do if you found your lost parents' hidden refuge? Would you be brave enough to search for answers? Then she noticed something. The glove compartment was slightly open, as if someone had left it that way on purpose. Inside the glove compartment was a waterproof document bag. Lily pulled it out with trembling hands. The bag was professional grade, the kind used for important papers that need to survive harsh conditions. It was sealed with a heavy-duty zipper lock, and inside she could see papers, lots of them, along with what looked like a USB drive, a small leather journal, and photographs. Her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears, Lily unzipped the bag and carefully removed the contents. The first thing she saw was a letter written in Mom's handwriting, that beautiful, careful script that Lily would recognize anywhere, sealed in a plastic sleeve. It was addressed, "To whoever finds this." Scout whined softly from the back seat, sensing Lily's emotion. With shaking hands, Lily began to read. "If you're reading this, it means something has happened to me. My name is Dr. Elena Martinez, and I'm a biomedical engineer at TechMedics Corporation in Portland, Oregon. I've developed a patent for a non-invasive cardiac monitoring device that could revolutionize heart disease detection and save millions of lives worldwide. The technology uses advanced biosensors and artificial intelligence algorithms to detect cardiac abnormalities months, even years, before traditional methods would catch them. My CEO, Richard Caldwell, wants to steal my patent. He's offered me buyout deals that would give him full ownership and credit for my invention while barely compensating me for years of work. When I refused his offers, he began threatening me. My laboratory has been broken into twice, both times with nothing stolen except my backup drives. My home computer was hacked. Someone tried to run me off the road last Tuesday. My brake lines were cut on Thursday. I only noticed because Scout wouldn't let me get in the car until I checked it." Lily's eyes widened. Scout had saved Mom once. She reached back and hugged the golden retriever tight. "I've hidden the original patent documents, all my research notes, laboratory journals, and evidence of Caldwell's criminal attempts to steal my work in this car, in this location that only I know about. I drove here last week and walked back to town. If I die, especially if it's made to look like an accident, please investigate TechMedics Corporation and Richard Caldwell. Please protect my daughter Lily. She's everything to me." The patent for the cardiac monitoring device is estimated to be worth approximately $85 million in current market value, based on preliminary investor interest. If anything happens to me, that value should legally transfer to Lily as my sole heir. She's my entire world. Please protect her. Please make sure she gets what's rightfully hers. I've contacted a lawyer, Thomas Chen at Chen & Associates in Portland, and given him sealed instructions to be opened if I die. But I'm also hiding this evidence here, just in case, because I trust documents more than I trust people right now. If you're reading this and you're not Lily, please help her. She's just a little girl who deserves to grow up safe and loved. Dr. Elena Martinez, October 23, 2023. The letter was dated 1 week before Mom died. Lily sat frozen in the driver's seat, the letter shaking in her hand so badly the words blurred. Mom hadn't died in an accident. She'd been murdered, killed for her invention, for money, for greed. And she'd known it was coming. What do you do when you discover your whole world was built on lies? Lily looked at the other documents in the bag with new eyes. Patent applications with official United States patent and trademark office stamps and signatures. Laboratory notebooks filled with Mom's careful handwriting, technical diagrams, equations that Lily couldn't understand but knew were important. Email printouts showing Richard Caldwell making increasingly hostile demands. Sign the papers, Elena, or you'll regret it. Photos of Mom's ransacked laboratory, equipment overturned, files scattered. Security footage stills showing men in dark clothing entering the TechMedics building at night, and a small digital voice recorder with a label in Mom's handwriting, "Meeting with Caldwell, 10/20/23, explicit threats made. Keep this safe." At the bottom of the bag, there was one more sealed envelope, smaller than the others. It was labeled in Mom's handwriting. "For Lily, my brave girl." Read this last. Lily's hands shook so badly she could barely open it. Inside was a shorter letter, written just to her in the special purple pen Mom always used for important things. My darling Lily, if you're reading this, I'm so sorry I'm not there with you. I fought so hard to stay with you, to protect you, but sometimes the world is cruel to people who try to do the right thing. You need to know that you are loved beyond measure. You are brilliant and brave and strong, stronger than you know. Never let anyone make you feel small or powerless or like you don't matter. You matter more than anything in this world. You come from a long line of fighters, baby girl. Your grandmother fled Cuba with nothing but her courage and her faith. Your great-grandmother survived things I can't even imagine and still found the strength to build a beautiful life. That same strength runs through your veins. You have their courage. You have their fire. The patent documents in this bag are yours now. They represent my life's work, yes, but more importantly, they represent your future. That cardiac monitoring device could save millions of lives, mothers and fathers and children who deserve to grow old with their families. Don't let bad people bury it. Don't let them silence truth. Don't let them win. I've left instructions with my lawyer, Thomas Chen. He's a good man. Trust him. If anything happens to me, he has a sealed envelope with details about this car's location and what to do. But if you're reading this, it means you found it first. You're so smart, baby girl. I always knew you were special. Scout will protect you. He always has. Keep him close, be brave, be strong. Fight for what's right, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. And remember, I love you to the moon and back, infinity times infinity, forever and always. You are my greatest creation, Lily. Not the patent, not the invention. You, forever, your Mama Elena. Lily pressed the letter to her chest and sobbed, great heaving sobs that shook her whole body. Scout climbed over the seat and into her lap, all 45 pounds of him, licking her tears and whining softly. Mom had known she was going to die. She'd prepared for it. She'd hidden evidence, written letters, made plans. And then she'd driven to her death anyway, trying to protect Lily one last time. Could you be that brave? Could you face your own death to save the truth? And Richard Caldwell, the man who'd murdered her mother, had gotten away with it. Worse, he'd stolen the patent anyway. Lily remembered now, remembered seeing something on TV at Riverside Children's Home about 6 months ago. News coverage of tech medics announcing a breakthrough cardiac monitoring device. Caldwell being interviewed, smiling, taking credit, talking about how his team had worked so hard to develop this life-saving technology. Mom's device, Mom's invention, Mom's years of work, stolen, and everyone believed the lie. The voices outside were very close now. Too close. I'm telling you, I saw a movement over here. It's probably just a deer, man. That kid couldn't have made it this far barefoot. She's probably hypothermic and passed out somewhere by now. Mrs. Brennan's offering a $500 bonus if we find her before the van arrives. I'm checking everything, and I mean everything. Heavy footsteps crunched through the underbrush, getting closer to the overgrown car. Lily ducked down in the front seat, pulling Scout with her, both of them hiding below the window line. Through the moss-covered windshield, she could barely see out, but she could hear everything. The footsteps stopped very close, a man's voice. Hold up, is that a car? Out here? Look at all that moss, that thing's been here for years. So? It's just an old junker someone abandoned, probably from the 70s or something. Still, we should check it. Lily's heart stopped. Scout's hackles raised, a low growl building in his chest that she quickly muffled with her hand over his muzzle. What would you do? Hide and hope, or fight? Through the foggy side window, Lily saw a flashlight beam sweep past the car. It paused, came back, focused on the moss-covered sedan. Look at this thing. It's like something out of a fairy tale. The forest just swallowed it whole. The footsteps changed direction, heading straight for the driver's side door. Lily frantically looked around the car's interior. In the back seat, under an old blanket Mom had kept for picnics, she spotted something. A toolbox. And when she quietly reached back and opened it, holding her breath, she found what she desperately needed. A flare gun. The kind boaters and hikers keep for emergencies. Bright orange, impossible to miss, with 3 flares stored in the handle. Mom had been so careful, so prepared. Even in planning her death, she'd thought about how to keep Lily safe, how to give her the tools to survive and fight back. The man was at the driver's window now, peering through the moss and condensation. Lily pressed herself down as far as she could go, but she knew he could probably see movement inside. His eyes widened. Holy, there's someone in there! I got her! The kid's in the car! He grabbed the door handle and pulled hard, locked. He started pounding on the window with his fist, making Scout bark furiously. Open this door, kid! Mrs. Brennan wants you back! Don't make this harder than it has to be! A second man arrived, bigger, meaner looking. Break the window! We don't have time for this! The first man pulled something from his belt, a metal tool, maybe a tire iron. Lily made a split-second decision. She grabbed the flare gun with both hands, checked that it was loaded. Yes, one flare ready to fire, and rolled down the driver's side window just an inch. Just enough to fit the barrel of the flare gun through. Get away from the car, she shouted, her voice high and scared but determined. This is a flare gun, and I know how to use it. I'll fire it straight up, and every park ranger in a 10-mile radius will see it. The man with the tire iron hesitated, his eyes on the bright orange gun in her small hands. Kid, that's not a real weapon. You can't hurt us with that. I don't need to hurt you, Lily said, and she was surprised by how steady her voice sounded. I just need people to see where we are. Emergency flares are visible for miles. The rangers will come. The police will come. And when they do, they'll want to know why two grown men were trying to break into a car with a little girl inside. The second man grabbed his partner's arm. Don't. She's right. If she fires that thing, we're done. Mrs. Brennan won't pay bail for a kidnapping charge. The kid's bluffing. She won't. Lily pulled the trigger. The flare shot into the gray morning sky with a loud whoosh that made both men jump backward. It climbed high, higher, arcing over the forest canopy before exploding into brilliant red light that burned like a miniature sun. It hung there against the clouds, visible for miles in every direction, slowly descending on its parachute. You stupid kid, the first man yelled. You just... But he never finished the sentence because Scout lunged. The golden retriever launched himself through the partially open window with a snarl Lily had never heard from him before. 45 pounds of protective fury, all teeth and golden fur and loyalty. He hit the man's chest with enough force to knock him backward into the ferns. The second man grabbed his partner. That's it, we're out. The rangers definitely saw that flare. Mrs. Brennan didn't pay us enough for this. They ran, crashed through the forest like panicked deer, their footsteps and curses fading into the distance. Scout climbed back through the window, tail wagging proudly, and licked Lily's face. She wrapped her arms around his neck and whispered, Good boy, the best boy. You saved me, just like you saved Mom. For a moment there was silence in the forest, just Lily and Scout and Mom's hidden car and the slowly descending red flare marking their location like a beacon. But a beacon calls to everyone, good and bad. Within minutes, Lily heard new sounds, vehicle engines, official radios crackling, multiple voices coordinating in professional tones. Through the moss-covered windows, she saw lights approaching, flashing lights on the tops of trucks, Forest Service vehicles. Help was coming. But was it the right help? Could she trust anyone after what had happened to Mom? Scout barked once and looked at her with those intelligent amber eyes as if to say, We have to try. Lily made her decision. The same decision Mom had made when she hid these documents instead of destroying them. The same decision Mom had made when she wrote those letters instead of staying silent. The same decision her grandmother had made when she fled Cuba, and her great-grandmother had made when she survived whatever terrible things she'd survived. She would fight. She would tell the truth. She would make sure Richard Caldwell paid for what he'd done. Clutching Mom's waterproof document bag to her chest like armor, Lily opened the car door and stepped out into the misty forest. Scout jumped down beside her, staying close, protective. The moss-covered Chevrolet sat behind them, having kept Mom's secrets safe for 2 years, having waited for exactly this moment, having served its purpose. A forest ranger in her 30s was approaching, her hands raised in a gesture of peace, her expression concerned but kind. Hi there, sweetheart. Are you okay? We saw the distress flare. That was very smart thinking. Are you hurt? Lily studied her face, looking for lies, for danger, but all she saw was genuine concern. Behind the ranger, more official vehicles were arriving, more rangers, someone who looked like a sheriff's deputy, all of them focused on helping, not hurting. Lily thought about Mom's letter. Be brave, be strong, fight for what's right. She took a deep breath and spoke clearly, her voice not wavering even though her hands were shaking. My name is Elena Martinez. I'm 8 years old. I escaped from Riverside Children's Home because the director, Mrs. Brennan, sells children. She was going to sell me tonight. 2 men chased me here. They work for her. The ranger's expression shifted from concern to alarm. She knelt down to Lily's level, her eyes serious. That's a very serious accusation, honey. We're going to need to— I have proof, Lily interrupted, holding up the waterproof bag. But not about Mrs. Brennan. I have proof of something else, something bigger. My mother was Dr. Elena Martinez. She was a biomedical engineer. 2 years ago, she was murdered by Richard Caldwell, the CEO of Techmedics Corporation, because he wanted to steal her patent. Everyone thinks she died in a car accident, but she didn't. She was killed. And before she died, she hid all the evidence in this car. She gestured to the moss-covered Chevrolet behind her. This is my mom's car. It's been here for 2 years, hidden, waiting for someone to find it, and I just did. Everything is documented. The threats, the break-ins, the patent theft, all of it, and I need help making sure the right people see this evidence. Can you help me? Please? The ranger stared at her for a long moment, then stood and turned to her colleagues. Call the sheriff. Call the FBI. And someone get Child Protective Services on the line. We've got a situation here that's way above our pay grade. She turned back to Lily and held out her hand. My name is Ranger Sarah Mitchell. And yes, Lily, we can help you. We absolutely can help you. You're safe now, I promise. That's what my mom said, Lily whispered, her voice finally breaking. Right before she died. She said I'd be safe, but she was wrong. Sarah Mitchell's eyes suddenly filled with tears. I won't make any promises, she said, but I will say this. Your mother protected you. Look at what she left behind. She prepared all of this for you. She knew you would find it because she knew how smart and brave you are. And now you have. She kept you safe by giving you the truth, and we're going to make sure that truth matters. More rangers arrived, forming a protective circle. Someone brought a thermal blanket to wrap around Lily's shoulders. Someone else brought water and energy bars. A female deputy approached with a first aid kit to treat Lily's cut feet, and Lily stood there in the forest beside her mother's moss-covered car, clutching the evidence that would change everything, with Scout pressed against her legs and the morning sun finally breaking through the mist. Around her, officials were making phone calls, coordinating, planning. The word FBI was mentioned multiple times. Someone said, patent attorney. Someone else said, homicide investigation. The wheels of justice were beginning to turn. Slowly, but they were turning. Lily looked at Scout, who looked back at her with complete trust and loyalty. She thought about Mom's final letter, about being brave, about being strong, about fighting even when it seemed impossible. The fight was just beginning. But for the first time since Mom died, Lily felt like she had a chance to win. What happens next? Could an 8-year-old girl really take down a powerful CEO? Could truth defeat money and power? Keep watching. Because when justice comes, it comes like a fire, and no one can stop it. The FBI arrived in 6 civilian vehicles. Lily sat in the back of Ranger Mitchell's pickup truck, wrapped in a thermal blanket, with Scout resting her head on Lily's chest. Even though the FBI had arrived, her heart was still racing. She still didn't know if she was safe. Through the window, she watched as agents in dark suits spread across the clearing, photographing the moss-covered Chevrolet from every angle, setting up evidence markers, cordoning off the area with yellow tape. Special Agent Jennifer Torres approached the truck, her badge clipped to her belt, her expression all business. She was a woman in her late 30s with sharp eyes and an intensity that reminded Lily of her mother when Mom was focused on a difficult problem. Lily Martinez, Torres asked, crouching beside the open truck door. My name is Special Agent Torres. I'm with the FBI's Portland field office. Can we talk? Lily nodded, clutching the waterproof document bag tighter. Torres noticed and held up her hands. You can keep holding those documents. I'm not going to take them from you. But I do need to look at them, with your permission. Can you tell me what's inside? For the next hour, Lily told her story. Not just about finding the car today, but everything. Mom's work at Tech Medics, the fear Lily remembered from those last weeks, the crash that killed Mom, the 2 years at Riverside Children's Home, Mrs. Brennan's trafficking operation, the men who'd chased her into the forest. Torres listened without interrupting, taking notes on a tablet. When Lily finished, the agent sat back and exhaled slowly. Lily, what you've described is incredibly serious. Multiple federal crimes, patent theft, corporate fraud, possibly murder, and definitely child trafficking. Before we go further, I need you to understand something. This is going to take time. Investigations like this don't happen overnight. Can you be patient? How much time? Lily asked. Months, probably. Maybe longer for everything to fully resolve, but we start right now. Torres gestured to another agent approaching with a camera. We're going to photograph every document in that bag, then send the originals to our forensics lab. You'll get receipts for everything, and we'll protect them like they're made of gold. Fair? Lily looked at Scout, who gazed back with calm, trusting eyes. Then she handed over the waterproof bag. My mom trusted documents more than people. She wrote that in her letter. Make sure these stay safe. I give you my word, Torres said. By the afternoon, the clearing had turned into a full-fledged investigation site. FBI forensic teams in white coats and white gloves were examining my mother's car, carefully cleaning the moss off the vehicle for inspection. A mobile command center, a large trailer filled with computers and equipment, had been set up. Scout was feeling very uneasy. It was obvious from his movements. Lily sat inside with Torres and another agent named Michael Rodriguez, watching as they went through Mom's documents one by one on a large monitor. The patent application was comprehensive. Mom's cardiac monitoring device used a combination of wearable sensors, machine learning algorithms, and real-time data analysis to detect early signs of heart disease. The technical details were far beyond what Lily could understand. But Torres brought in an expert via video call, a patent attorney named Dr. Lisa Park. This is extraordinary work, Dr. Park said, studying the documents on her screen from Portland. The innovation level here is significant. If Dr. Martinez filed this patent when the documents indicate October 2023, then any similar patent filed after that date would be derivative, secondary, potentially fraudulent if it's too similar. Rodriguez pulled up something on another computer. Tech Medics filed a patent for a cardiac monitoring system in March 2024, 5 months after Dr. Martinez died. Let me see it, Dr. Park requested. They worked in silence for several minutes, comparing Mom's original documents with Tech Medics' patent filing. Lily watched the attorney's face grow increasingly grim. It's the same device, Dr. Park finally said. Not similar, the same. They've changed some terminology, restructured some sections, but the core technology, the algorithms, the sensor design, it's all directly from Dr. Martinez's work. This is blatant theft. Torres leaned forward. Can we prove that in court? With these original documents? Absolutely. Dr. Martinez dated everything, signed everything, and her laboratory notebooks show the development process over 18 months. Tech Medics' patent has no such documentation. They just suddenly invented something that took Dr. Martinez a year and a half to develop? No judge will believe that. What about the murder allegations? Rodriguez asked. The car accident that killed Dr. Martinez. Torres pulled up a file on another screen. I've been reviewing the original accident report from October 2023. Single vehicle collision on Highway 26. Vehicle left the road during heavy rain, struck trees. Dr. Martinez was pronounced dead at the scene. The investigating officer noted brake failure as a possible cause, but the report says the vehicle was too damaged to definitively determine mechanical failure versus driver error. Mom's letter said someone cut her brake lines, Lily said quietly. Days before she died, she said Scout noticed and wouldn't let her get in the car until she checked. All 3 adults turned to look at Scout, who was lying peacefully under the table. Where's the vehicle now? Torres asked, typing rapidly. The car from the crash? Rodriguez checked his computer. Towed to Hoffman's Auto Salvage in Gresham. It says here, hold on. It was sold for scrap metal 4 months after the accident. Sold to who? Company called Pacific Metal Recyclers. They process vehicles for... Oh, Rodriguez's expression darkened. Pacific Metal Recyclers is a subsidiary of Crown Industries, and Crown Industries is owned by Richard Caldwell, Torres finished. TechMedics' CEO owns the company that destroyed the evidence vehicle. That's not a coincidence. What would you do if you discovered someone destroyed evidence of their own crime? Lily felt a cold certainty settle over her. Caldwell hadn't just stolen Mom's patent. He'd murdered her, staged it as an accident, and then destroyed the evidence that could prove brake tampering. He'd planned everything carefully, but he hadn't known about the hidden car in the forest. He hadn't known Mom was smart enough to preserve the truth. That evening, a woman from Child Protective Services arrived. Sandra Kim, gentle-voiced and patient, who explained that Lily couldn't return to Riverside Children's Home. "We've initiated an investigation into Mrs. Brennan's facility," Sandra said. "You're not going back there, ever. But we do need to place you somewhere safe while the legal proceedings unfold. Do you have any relatives?" Lily shook her head. "Mom was an only child. Her parents died before I was born. I don't have anyone." "What about Scout?" Sandra asked, looking at the golden retriever. "He belongs to you?" "He was Mom's dog, but yeah, he's mine now." Sandra made notes. "Okay, we'll find you a foster placement that accepts pets. Give me a day or two to arrange something appropriate." For that night, Ranger Mitchell offered her home, a small cabin near the ranger station where she lived alone. Mitchell had a spare bedroom, and more importantly, she had a big backyard where Scout could run. Lily lay down that night in an unfamiliar bed, in a house with unfamiliar objects and unfamiliar paintings, feeling a little strange. Scout curled up beside her and stared at the ceiling. Everything had changed so quickly. 24 hours ago, she'd been a scared orphan about to be sold. Now she was at the center of an FBI investigation that could bring down a corporate CEO. Would it be enough? Would justice actually happen? Sleep came slowly, and when it did, she dreamed of Mom driving through the rain, checking the rearview mirror one last time before the crash. 3 days later, Torres arranged a meeting with Thomas Chen, the lawyer Mom had mentioned in her letter. Chen was in his 50s, with gray-streaked hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. When he walked into the FBI's Portland office and saw Lily sitting at the conference table, his eyes widened. "My God, you're Lily. You're Elena's daughter." He sat down heavily. "I've been looking for you for 2 years." "Looking for me?" Lily asked. Chen pulled out a file. "Your mother gave me sealed instructions before she died. She said if anything happened to her, I was to find you and help you. But after the accident, you disappeared into the foster system. Every time I got close to tracking you down, something would go wrong. Paperwork would get lost, files would be misfiled. I started to think someone was deliberately keeping you hidden." Torres leaned forward. "Someone was. We just raided Riverside Children's Home this morning. Mrs. Brennan kept 2 sets of records, official ones for state inspections, and real ones showing which children she'd trafficked. Lily's file was marked high value, no family, schedule for placement. She was deliberately kept off any official tracking systems to make her easier to sell." Chen looked sick. "Elena's worst fears came true. She told me she was worried Lily would end up in a bad situation if something happened to her. That's why she set up the trust." "What trust?" Lily asked. Chen opened his file and pulled out documents. "Your mother established a trust fund for you 1 month before she died. It was funded with her life savings, about $50,000, and controlled by me as trustee until you turn 18. But more importantly, she left instructions that if her death was suspicious, I was to investigate. And she told me about the car hidden in the forest." He pulled out a sealed envelope, yellowed with age. "She gave me this 2 years ago, instructions on how to find the car, what documents would be inside, and what to do with them. I tried, Lily. I hired a private investigator to search those old logging roads, but the forest is huge, and the car was so well hidden. We never found it. I found it because I was running for my life," Lily said quietly, "and because Scout remembered." Chen looked at the golden retriever who was lying under the table. Scout. Elena loved that dog. She said he was the smartest animal she'd ever met. "He saved my life twice now," Lily said. "Once in the forest when those men were chasing me, and before that, he saved Mom when her brakes were cut. He knew something was wrong." Torres had been listening carefully. "Mr. Chen, what exactly did Dr. Martinez tell you about Richard Caldwell?" "She said he was dangerous, that he'd made explicit threats to take her patent by any means necessary. She recorded one of their meetings. It should be on the USB drive she hid in the car. That recording was her insurance policy. She thought if Caldwell knew she had evidence, he wouldn't dare hurt her. But he did anyway, Rodriguez said. He must have thought the evidence died with her, Chen replied, that the car crash would destroy everything. He didn't know she'd hidden duplicates. Torres pulled up something on her computer. We've analyzed the USB drive. There are audio recordings, email backups, and security footage from Dr. Martinez's home computer. One recording in particular is damning. Caldwell explicitly telling Dr. Martinez to sign over the patent or suffer the consequences. Those are his exact words. That's a direct threat, Chen said. Combined with the patent theft after her death, we have grounds for murder charges. Lily listened to them talk about evidence and charges and legal proceedings, and she felt something shift inside her. This wasn't just about her anymore. This was about Mom, about making sure Mom's death meant something, about making sure her invention saved lives the way it was supposed to. What happens to me now? Lily asked. Chen looked at her with gentle sadness. Legally, you're Dr. Martinez's sole heir. The $50,000 in the trust is yours, and when the patent case is resolved, the full value of her invention will transfer to you. But you're 8 years old. You can't manage that kind of money or make those decisions yet. So I'll continue as your trustee, managing everything until you're 18. Is that okay with you? Will you make sure Mom's invention gets used? Lily asked. Will you make sure people's lives get saved? Yes, Chen said firmly. That's exactly what I'll do. Your mother didn't invent that device to make money. She invented it to help people. We'll honor that. Torres stood up. We're moving forward with multiple investigations, patent theft against Tech Medics, murder charges against Richard Caldwell, and trafficking charges against Mrs. Brennan. All of these will take time, but they're happening. Lily, you're going to need to testify eventually, probably multiple times. Are you prepared for that? Was she? Could an 8-year-old girl stand up in court against powerful adults? Lily thought about Mom's letter. Be brave, be strong, fight for what's right. Yes, Lily said. I'll testify. I'll tell the truth about everything. That's what Mom would want. Chen smiled sadly. Elena would be so proud of you. 1 week after Lily found the car, the story went public. FBI investigates TechMedic CEO for patent theft and possible murder, read the headline in the Portland Tribune. By evening, it was national news. Major networks picked it up. Biomedical engineer's death under new scrutiny. Tech websites ran detailed analyses of the competing patents. Legal blogs debated the implications for corporate patent law. And through it all, Lily's name was kept confidential. She was referred to only as the victim's minor daughter in all official statements. She watched the news coverage from her new foster home, a placement Sandra had found with a couple named Tom and Jennifer Martinez, no relation, who had experience with traumatized children and a large fenced yard for Scout. They were kind people who gave Lily space when she needed it and comfort when she didn't. On TV, Richard Caldwell gave a press conference, his expensive suit immaculate, his expression perfectly calibrated for sympathy. These allegations are completely false. Dr. Martinez was a valued member of our team, and her tragic death was devastating to all of us. Any suggestion that Tech Medics or I personally had anything to do with her accident is offensive and will be vigorously defended against in court. Lily watched him lie with a straight face and felt fury burn in her chest. He's going to get away with it, she said to Scout, who was lying beside her on the couch. He's rich and powerful, and he's going to lie and buy his way out of this. But Jennifer Martinez, sitting nearby, shook her head. Not this time. You have something he can't buy or lie away. What? The truth. The documented, preserved, undeniable truth. Your mother made that possible. That night, Lily took out her mother's letter once more and read the end. Be brave. Be strong. Fight for what is right even if it's hard. The fight wasn't over yet, but for the first time, Lily truly believed they could win. Her mother's message had given her so much. Now she had to be strong. She had to be brave. 6 months after finding Mom's car, Lily stood outside the federal courthouse in Portland. The tiny building was quite long. It was quite frightening, as if the exterior had been designed to scare people. The building was massive, all stone columns and marble steps designed to intimidate. People in expensive suits rushed past her, briefcases in hand, too important to notice the 9-year-old girl in a navy blue dress standing frozen on the sidewalk. Jennifer Martinez squeezed Lily's shoulder gently. "You don't have to do this today. We can ask for a postponement." "No," Lily said, her voice steadier than she felt. "I want to testify. I need to." Beside her, Scout whined softly. The golden retriever was wearing his official service vest. The judge had granted special permission for him to accompany Lily into the courtroom as an emotional support animal. Agent Torres approached from the courthouse entrance. "The prosecutors are ready. Caldwell's lawyers are making their final arguments for dismissal, but Judge Chen isn't buying it. We're going to trial." Exactly 6 months had passed before these processes began. These processes took exactly 6 months. 6 months of depositions, evidence review, expert testimony, and legal maneuvering. 6 months of watching Richard Caldwell's lawyers try every tactic to get the charges dismissed. 6 months of waiting for justice. But today, finally, the criminal trial was beginning. Would the truth be enough to convict a man as powerful as Richard Caldwell? Or would money and lawyers find a way to twist reality? Inside the courthouse, the hallways echoed with footsteps. Lily held Scout's leash tight, drawing strength from his steady presence. They passed through security, rode the elevator to the 4th floor, and entered courtroom 4B. The room was smaller than Lily had imagined from TV shows, but more intimidating. Dark wood paneling, the judge's bench elevated like a throne, the witness stand exposed and alone, jury seats empty for now. This was just preliminary hearings before jury selection began. And at the defense table sat Richard Caldwell. He looked different from his TV appearances, older, thinner. His expensive suit couldn't hide the stress of 6 months under FBI investigation. When he saw Lily enter, his eyes narrowed with an expression that made her skin crawl. That's the man who killed Mom. Thomas Chen, who'd become not just Lily's lawyer but her advocate and friend, met them at the prosecution table. "The judge wants to hear from you before we proceed to jury selection. He needs to understand why a 9-year-old should be allowed to testify in a murder trial. Can you do that?" "Yes," Lily said. Judge Marcus Reeves entered. A stern-looking black man in his 60s with gray hair and eyes that seemed to see everything. Everyone stood as he took his seat. "Be seated," Judge Reeves said. His voice was deep and commanding. "We're here for preliminary motions in the case of United States v. Sir Richard Caldwell. I understand the prosecution wishes to call a minor witness, Lily Martinez, age 9, daughter of the victim. Before I make any rulings on this highly unusual request, I want to hear from the child herself." He looked directly at Lily. "Miss Martinez, please approach the bench." Lily's legs shook as she walked forward with Scout beside her. The judge's bench seemed impossibly high, and she felt tiny standing before it. But Judge Reeves smiled slightly, the first hint of warmth she'd seen from him. "You can bring your dog up here with you. I had a golden retriever when I was young, best friend I ever had." Scout's tail wagged once. "Miss Martinez," Judge Reeves continued, "the defense has argued that you're too young to testify, that the trauma of trial would be harmful to you, and that your testimony would be unreliable. What do you say to that?" Lily took a deep breath. "Your Honor, I'm not too young to know the truth. I'm not too young to know that my mother was murdered. And I'm not too young to want justice for her. The defense also argues that your mother's death was ruled an accidental crash, that there's no proof of murder. My mother wrote letters before she died saying Richard Caldwell threatened her. She recorded conversations where he said he'd take her patent by any means necessary. She documented that someone cut her brake lines. And then she died in a crash caused by brake failure. That's not a coincidence." Caldwell's lead attorney, a silver-haired man named Gregory Hastings, stood. "Your Honor, the child is simply repeating what she's been told by prosecutors. She has no personal knowledge of—" "I found my mother's car," Lily interrupted, her voice rising. "I found it hidden in the forest where she left it before she died. I found her letters. I found the evidence she preserved. Nobody told me what to think. She told me, in her own words, and now I'm telling you. What can you do against lawyers who have the power to do everything in their power to prevent you from speaking? Have you ever been in this kind of situation? Write your comments. Judge Reeves studied her for a long moment. Miss Martinez, testifying in a trial is difficult even for adults. You'll be cross-examined by defense attorneys whose job is to make you doubt yourself, to confuse you, to discredit your testimony. They won't be gentle just because you're 9 years old. Are you prepared for that? Lily thought about the men who'd chased her through the forest, about Mrs. Brennan who'd tried to sell her, about Richard Caldwell who'd murdered her mother and stolen her work. I've already faced worse, she said quietly. At least here, I have people on my side. At least here, the truth matters. Judge Reeves nodded slowly. Very well. Motion to exclude the minor witness is denied. Miss Martinez will be allowed to testify with appropriate accommodations for her age. Her service dog may remain with her throughout her testimony. Hastings looked furious, but he sat down without arguing further. We'll break for jury selection, Judge Reeves said. Trial begins in 2 weeks. Miss Martinez, I hope you understand the responsibility you've taken on. I do, Your Honor. My mom taught me that some things are worth fighting for, no matter how hard it gets. For the first time, Judge Reeves smiled fully. Your mother raised a remarkable young woman. Court is adjourned. The opening speeches began 2 weeks later. The jury was seated. 12 ordinary people from Portland and surrounding areas, ranging from a retired teacher to a construction worker to a software engineer. They would decide Richard Caldwell's fate. The prosecution's opening statement was delivered by Assistant U.S. Attorney Rachel Morrison, a sharp woman in her 40s who'd built her career prosecuting corporate crime. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Morrison began, pacing before the jury box, this case is about greed, theft, and murder. Dr. Elena Martinez was a brilliant biomedical engineer who invented a device that could save millions of lives by detecting heart disease early. Her invention was worth $85 million in current market value, and the defendant, Richard Caldwell, wanted it. She turned to face Caldwell. He wanted it so badly that when Dr. Martinez refused to sign over her patent for a fraction of its value, he threatened her. He had her lab broken into, he had her brake lines cut. And when she still refused to surrender her life's work, he had her killed, staged as an accident on a rainy night, a single vehicle crash that was blamed on driver error. Morrison pulled up a photo on the courtroom screen, Mom smiling in her lab holding a prototype of her device. Lily's eyes filled with tears. But Dr. Martinez was smarter than her killer gave her credit for. She documented everything. She hid evidence in a secret location. She left letters explaining exactly what was happening and why she feared for her life. And she left behind a daughter brave enough to find that evidence and bring it forward. The prosecutor pointed to Lily sitting in the front row. That 9-year-old girl found her mother's hidden car. She found the truth her mother preserved. And now we're going to show you that truth, the recordings, the documents, the expert testimony. All of it proving that Richard Caldwell murdered Dr. Elena Martinez to steal her invention, and you're going to deliver justice. The defense's opening was delivered by Gregory Hastings, smooth and confident in his $1,000 suit. Ladies and gentlemen, this case is tragic, but it's not a murder. Dr. Elena Martinez died in a terrible accident, a single vehicle crash during heavy rain on a mountain road. That's what the police investigation concluded at the time. That's what the coroner ruled. That's what the physical evidence showed. He gestured dismissively. The prosecution wants you to believe in an elaborate conspiracy theory constructed from the grief-stricken writings of a woman who was, tragically, mentally unstable in the weeks before her death. Dr. Martinez was under tremendous stress at work. She was struggling financially as a single mother. She was paranoid, seeing threats where none existed. Lily wanted to scream. Mom wasn't paranoid. She was right about everything. The prosecution will show you documents Dr. Martinez wrote claiming she was being threatened. But where's the proof? Where are the witnesses to these supposed threats? Where's the physical evidence of brake tampering? The vehicle from the crash was examined and showed no signs of sabotage. Only damage consistent with a high-speed collision. Hastings moved closer to the jury. My client, Richard Caldwell, is a respected CEO who built TechMedics into a leader in medical technology. Did his company develop a cardiac monitoring device after Dr. Martinez's death? Yes. Is it based on similar technology? Perhaps, because Dr. Martinez was part of a team of engineers working on this problem. She didn't invent this device alone. She was one contributor among many. That was a lie. Mom had invented it alone, in her own time, with her own funding. The prosecution wants you to convict my client based on the confused memories of a traumatized child and the paranoid writings of an unstable woman. Don't let emotion override evidence. Don't convict an innocent man of murder when the only crime here is a tragic accident and a daughter who can't accept that reality. When Hastings sat down, Lily felt sick, because they portrayed her mother as if she were crazy. Similarly, they portrayed Lily as if she were a liar, someone untrustworthy. If such a situation happened to you, what would you think? The truth was being erased because of lies. Over the next week, the prosecution built their case piece by piece. They called the FBI forensic examiner who'd analyzed Mom's car from the forest. The vehicle showed no damage consistent with a crash, he testified. This car was driven to that location and deliberately hidden, not abandoned after an accident. They called Dr. Lisa Park, the patent attorney, who walked the jury through Mom's original patent application and TechMedics' later filing. The technologies are identical, not similar, identical. The only way TechMedics could have filed this patent is if they had access to Dr. Martinez's original work. They played the audio recording Mom had made of her meeting with Caldwell. The jury heard his voice, cold and threatening. Sign over the patent, Elena, or you'll regret it. I've built this company from nothing, and I'm not letting some employee think they own what we developed on company time. You have 48 hours to decide. Mom's voice, shaking but firm. I developed this on my own time, with my own resources. It's mine, Richard. And I'm not giving it to you. Then suffer the consequences. The courtroom was silent when the recording ended. Several jurors were writing furiously in their notebooks. They called Agent Torres, who testified about finding evidence that Caldwell's subsidiary company had purchased and destroyed the crash vehicle before it could be properly examined. Isn't it convenient, Torres said, that the one piece of physical evidence that could prove brake tampering was destroyed by a company owned by the defendant? But would it be enough? Or would Caldwell's expensive lawyers find a way to create reasonable doubt? Then came the day Lily had been dreading and preparing for, her turn to testify. It was Lily's turn to speak. Everyone seemed to be waiting for it. The witness stand felt like a stage where everyone was watching, judging, waiting for her to fail. Scout was at Lily's feet and Lily sat down. Scout gave her strength and power. It was the only thing keeping her from running away. Thomas Chen gave her an encouraging nod from the prosecution table. Rachel Morrison approached with a gentle smile. Please state your name for the record. Lily Elena Martinez. Her voice was small but clear. Lily, how old are you? 9. I just turned 9 last month. And who is Dr. Elena Martinez? My mom. Lily's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them back. She was my mom, and she was amazing. She was so smart and kind, and she always made me feel safe. Until she died. Can you tell the jury about the last few weeks before your mother died? Lily took a deep breath. She was scared. She tried to hide it from me, but I knew. She kept checking the locks on our doors. She made me promise to always stay with Scout, to never go anywhere alone. She started driving different routes home from work, and she stopped sleeping. Did she tell you why she was scared? Not directly, but I heard her on the phone sometimes, crying and saying she didn't know what to do. She said someone was threatening her, trying to steal her invention. Hastings stood. Objection. Hearsay. Overruled, Judge Reeves said. The witness is describing what she personally observed and heard. Morrison continued. What happened the night your mother died? We were driving somewhere. I don't remember where. It was raining really hard. Mom kept checking the rearview mirror and she looked terrified. She said, If anything happens to me, Lily, remember that I love you, and then there was a crash. Everything went black. And when you woke up? I was in the hospital. They told me Mom was dead, That it was an accident. Lily's voice broke. But it wasn't an accident. He killed her. She pointed at Caldwell, who stared back with cold eyes. How do you know it wasn't an accident? Because I found Mom's letters. She wrote everything down before she died. She knew Richard Caldwell was going to kill her, and she left evidence to prove it. Morrison held up the waterproof document bag, now a labeled evidence exhibit. Is this the bag you found in your mother's car? Yes. Mom hid it in the glove compartment. Inside were her letters, the patent documents, recordings of Caldwell threatening her. Everything. And where was this car? Hidden in the forest. Mom drove it there before she died and walked back to town. She knew Caldwell would try to destroy evidence, so she made sure there was a copy he couldn't find. Morrison smiled. Thank you, Lily. No further questions. Now came the hard part. Gregory Hastings approached the witness stand like a predator circling prey. Miss Martinez, you were how old when your mother died? 7. 7 years old. And you expect this jury to believe you remember specific conversations from 2 years ago? I remember the important things. I remember Mom being scared. I remember her trying to protect me. Or perhaps you remember what you've been told to remember by prosecutors who need a sympathetic witness? Agent Torres had warned Lily this would happen. Hastings would try to make her doubt herself, confuse her, paint her as manipulated. Nobody told me what to remember, Lily said firmly. I found Mom's car myself. I read her letters myself. Nobody made me do anything. You found this car by coincidence, in the middle of a forest? I was running away from bad people who wanted to hurt me. Scout led me there. He remembered. Hastings raised an eyebrow. The dog remembered? Miss Martinez, dogs don't have memory like that. Scout, hearing himself discussed, lifted his head and stared directly at Hastings. Several jurors smiled. Scout was Mom's dog before he was mine, Lily said. He'd been to that car before. When we were running through the forest, he smelled something familiar and led me to it. Dogs have better noses and memories than people give them credit for. What would you say if a lawyer tried to tell you your own memories were wrong? Hastings shifted tactics. Your mother's letters claim someone cut her brake lines, but the police investigation found no evidence of tampering on the crash vehicle. Because Richard Caldwell's company destroyed that vehicle before anyone could properly examine it. That's speculation. That's a fact. Agent Torres testified that Pacific Metal Recyclers, owned by Caldwell, bought the crash vehicle and processed it for scrap 4 months after Mom died. Why would he do that unless he wanted to destroy evidence? Hastings frowned. The 9-year-old was supposed to be easy to discredit, not sharp enough to turn his questions back on him. Miss Martinez, isn't it possible your mother was simply stressed, paranoid, imagining threats that didn't exist? Lily felt anger rise in her chest. My mom wasn't crazy. She was murdered, and the proof is in those documents she left. You can try to confuse me or make me doubt myself, but you can't change what she wrote. You can't change what really happened. No further questions, Hastings said abruptly, returning to his table. Lily stepped down from the witness stand on shaking legs. She'd done it. She'd testified. She'd told the truth. Now it was up to the jury to believe her. The trial continued for another week. The defense called their own experts who claimed the patent similarities were coincidental, that Dr. Martinez had been mentally unstable, that her death was clearly accidental. But the prosecution had one final piece of evidence, something they'd been holding back. On the last day of testimony, Agent Torres took the stand again. 2 days ago, our forensics team finished analyzing Dr. Martinez's home computer, which we recovered from her residence. We found something significant in her deleted files folder, files that were deleted the day after she died. Morrison projected the evidence on the courtroom screen. What are we looking at? Email communications between Richard Caldwell and a man named Victor Santos. Santos is a known criminal with convictions for assault and extortion. In these emails, Caldwell discusses handling the Martinez problem permanently and arranging payment of $50,000 for removing an obstacle. The courtroom erupted. Judge Reeves banged his gavel. Order! Hastings shot to his feet. Your Honor, this evidence should have been disclosed during discovery. We've had no opportunity to examine. We just recovered it 48 hours ago, Morrison countered. We're entitled to present newly discovered evidence. Judge Reeves considered. The evidence will be allowed. Mr. Hastings, you'll have opportunity to cross-examine and call rebuttal witnesses if needed. Continue, Agent Torres. Torres pulled up more emails. The communication shows Caldwell making arrangements with Santos to make it look like an accident. The final email was sent 3 days before Dr. Martinez died. Could they finally prove murder beyond reasonable doubt? The prosecution rested. The defense scrambled to respond but had no good explanation for the emails. Hastings suggested they were fabricated, but FBI forensic experts testified the files were authentic, with metadata showing they were created when claimed. Closing arguments were powerful on both sides. Morrison painted Caldwell as a greedy killer who valued money over life. Hastings maintained reasonable doubt, arguing circumstantial evidence wasn't enough. The jury deliberated for 2 days. Lily stayed with her foster family, unable to eat or sleep, checking her phone constantly for updates from Thomas Chen. Scout never left her side, sensing her anxiety. On the afternoon of the second day, Chen called. Verdict's in. They're reading it in 30 minutes. Lily and the Martinezes rushed to the courthouse. The courtroom was packed, media, supporters, curious onlookers. Lily sat in the front row with Scout, her hands clasped tight. The jury filed in, their faces unreadable. Judge Reeves addressed the jury foreman. Has the jury reached a verdict? We have, Your Honor. On the charge of first-degree murder, how do you find? We find the defendant, Richard Caldwell, guilty. The courtroom exploded with noise. Lily heard gasping, crying, shouting. She felt Jennifer Martinez hug her tight. She saw Caldwell's face go pale, saw his lawyers already preparing appeals. But most of all, she felt relief wash over her like a wave. Guilty. Mom's killer had been found guilty. Judge Reeves continued reading verdicts on additional charges: patent fraud, obstruction of justice, conspiracy. Guilty on all counts. Mr. Caldwell, Judge Reeves said, you will be remanded into custody pending sentencing. Sentencing hearing is set for 6 weeks from today. As bailiffs led Caldwell away in handcuffs, he turned and looked directly at Lily. His expression was pure hatred. But Lily didn't look away. She met his eyes steadily and thought about Mom's final words. Be brave, be strong, fight for what's right. She'd done it, she'd fought, and she'd won. 6 weeks after the guilty verdict, Lily stood in the same courtroom for sentencing. Richard Caldwell looked different now, prison orange instead of expensive suits, his face gaunt and gray. The arrogance was gone, replaced by the hollow expression of a man who'd lost everything. Judge Reeves read the charges with cold precision. Richard Caldwell, you have been found guilty of first-degree murder, patent fraud, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice. These crimes were motivated by greed and executed with calculated cruelty. You murdered a brilliant scientist to steal her life's work. You destroyed evidence to cover your tracks, and you showed no remorse throughout this trial. The judge paused, looking directly at Caldwell. Dr. Elena Martinez invented technology that could have saved millions of lives. Instead of celebrating her achievement, you silenced her forever. This court cannot restore what you took from her daughter, but it can ensure you never harm anyone again. What does justice sound like when it finally arrives? On the charge of first-degree murder, I sentence you to life in prison without possibility of parole. On the additional charges, I add 30 years to run consecutively. Mr. Caldwell, you will die in prison. That is the consequence of your choices. Caldwell's shoulders sagged. His lawyers immediately began talking about appeals, but everyone in the courtroom knew the truth. The evidence was overwhelming, the verdict solid. Richard Caldwell's life as a free man was over. As bailiffs led him away, Lily felt something she hadn't felt in 2 years: peace, not happiness. Mom was still gone, and nothing could change that. But knowing her killer would face justice brought a measure of closure. Scout pressed against her leg, tail wagging gently as if he understood. Approximately 2 months later, the legal case had finally reached a conclusion. Techmedics Corporation, facing criminal charges of patent theft and fraud, agreed to a settlement rather than fight in court. Thomas Chen negotiated on Lily's behalf, and the terms were announced at a press conference Lily attended with her foster parents. Tech medics will pay $85 million in damages to Miss Martinez as Dr. Elena Martinez's sole heir, Chen announced to the gathered reporters. Additionally, the patent for the cardiac monitoring device will be returned to Dr. Martinez's estate with her name properly credited as the sole inventor. Tech medics will pay ongoing royalties for any use of the technology. A reporter called out, "What will happen to the money?" Chen looked at Lily, who'd prepared a statement with his help. She stepped forward to the microphone, Scout beside her in his service vest. "My mom didn't invent this device to get rich," Lily said, her voice clear and steady. "She invented it to save lives. So that's what we're going to do with this money. We're establishing the Elena Martinez Foundation for Medical Innovation. The foundation will fund research into heart disease prevention, provide free cardiac monitoring devices to underserved communities, and offer scholarships to young women pursuing careers in biomedical engineering." She looked directly at the cameras. "My mom's invention will help people, just like she always wanted. And her name will be remembered not as a victim, but as a brilliant scientist who changed the world." The press conference erupted with questions, but Lily had said what she needed to say. As she walked away with the Martinezes and Scout, she felt Mom's presence almost physically, a warmth, a rightness, as if her mother was saying, "Yes, baby girl, that's perfect. Could one person's courage really change the world? Yes, because truth, preserved and fought for, becomes unstoppable." 4 months after the settlement, Lily sat in family court for a very different kind of hearing. Tom and Jennifer Martinez had been her foster parents for a year now, but they wanted to make it permanent. They had really taken a liking to him. They loved him very much. They'd filed for adoption. The judge in this courtroom was warm, where Judge Reeves had been stern, a grandmother-type woman named Judge Patricia Wells, who smiled when Lily and Scout entered. "Lily Martinez," Judge Wells said kindly, "Mr. and Mrs. Martinez have petitioned to adopt you. This is your chance to tell me what you want. Do you want to be adopted by them?" Lily looked at Tom and Jennifer sitting at the petitioner's table. They'd given her a safe home, patience when she had nightmares, support through the trial, love without demanding anything in return. They'd accepted Scout as part of the family. They'd driven her to therapy appointments and foundation meetings and let her grieve at her own pace. "Yes," Lily said, "I want them to adopt me. They're my family now." "Any particular reason?" "Because they love me for who I am, and because they honor my mom's memory. They don't try to replace her. They help me keep her alive in my heart." Jennifer was crying. Tom held her hand to make her feel that he was there for her. Judge Wells smiled. "Then it's my privilege to grant this adoption petition. Lily Elena Martinez, you are now legally the daughter of Thomas and Jennifer Martinez. Congratulations to all of you." The gavel came down, and this time it meant not judgment, but new beginnings. Scout barked once as if to say, "Finally, took you humans long enough." 15-year-old Lily Martinez stood on the stage at Portland's Convention Center, looking out at 3,000 people gathered for the Elena Martinez Foundation's annual gala. 6 years had passed since she'd found Mom's car in the forest. 6 years of therapy, school, growing up, and working to honor Mom's legacy. The foundation had funded breakthrough research, distributed 50,000 free cardiac monitors to low-income patients, and awarded scholarships to 200 young women pursuing STEM careers. And tonight, they were unveiling something special. "When my mom invented the cardiac monitoring device," Lily said into the microphone, "she dreamed of a world where heart disease could be detected early enough to save lives. Tonight, I'm proud to announce that her dream is becoming reality. The Elena Martinez cardiac monitor is now FDA approved and will be available nationwide starting next month." The audience erupted in applause. This device has already saved 12,000 lives in clinical trials. 12,000 people who detected heart problems early and got treatment before it was too late. 12,000 families who didn't lose someone they loved. Lily's voice caught, but she continued. "My mom didn't get to see her invention change the world. Richard Caldwell made sure of that. But he couldn't kill her legacy. He couldn't destroy the truth, and he couldn't silence the people who loved her and believed in her work." On the screen behind her, photos appeared. Mom smiling in her lab, Mom hugging 6-year-old Lily, Mom's patent documents, the moss-covered Chevrolet being preserved as a historical exhibit. 6 years ago, I was a scared little girl running through a forest. Today, I'm a high school student studying biomedical engineering, following in my mom's footsteps. And I'm here to tell you that truth matters. Justice matters. Fighting for what's right matters. Lily gestured to Scout, now 11 years old and graying around the muzzle, lying peacefully at the side of the stage. My best friend is getting older. He won't be with me forever. But he taught me something important. Loyalty endures, love endures, and when you protect someone with everything you have, that protection echoes forward into the future. She held up a photo of the forest car. This car saved my life twice. Once by giving me shelter when I needed it, and once by preserving the truth my mother left behind. It's now on permanent display at the Oregon Historical Society, a reminder that some secrets refuse to stay buried. Would you have the courage to turn tragedy into triumph, to take your worst moment and transform it into something that helps others? Next year, I'll graduate high school. I've already been accepted to MIT, my mom's dream school, with a full scholarship from our own foundation. I'm going to study biomedical engineering, just like she did, and someday I'll invent something that saves lives, just like she did. Lily's adoptive parents sat in the front row, tears streaming down their faces. Beside them was Thomas Chen, who'd become like an uncle, Agent Torres, who still checked in regularly, Ranger Mitchell, who'd been the first to help, Sandra Kim from Child Protective Services, all the people who'd fought for her when she was too small to fight for herself. My mom wrote in her last letter to me, "Be brave, be strong, fight for what's right even when it's hard." I've tried to live those words every day, and I hope that by sharing her story, by honoring her legacy, I've made her proud. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. After the gala, Lily stood outside with Scout looking up at the Portland night sky. The golden retriever leaned against her, content and peaceful. "We did it, boy," Lily whispered. "We finished what Mom started." Scout's tail wagged once, slow and steady. 6 years ago, Lily had been an orphan with no family, no future, no hope. Now she had parents who loved her, a purpose that gave her life meaning, and the certainty that her mother's legacy would endure. Richard Caldwell was in prison, serving a life sentence with no parole. Mrs. Brennan had been convicted of trafficking and was serving 25 years. TechMedics had been dissolved, its assets liquidated to pay restitution to Dr. Martinez's estate. Justice had been served, truth had prevailed, and love, Mom's love, preserved in letters and documents in a hidden car, had proven stronger than death. Lily pulled out her phone and opened the photo she kept there. Mom smiling in her lab, holding her prototype device, looking proud and hopeful and alive. "I love you to the moon and back, infinity times infinity," Lily whispered, "forever and always." In her heart, she felt Mom whisper back, "I know, baby girl, and I'm so proud of you." Scout barked softly, looked up at Lily, then at the stars above, as if he saw something there that humans couldn't quite see, as if he knew that love, once given, never truly ends. And for the first time in 6 years, Lily felt complete. Not healed. Grief doesn't heal like a wound, but whole, present, ready for whatever came next. The moss-covered car in the forest had been her refuge. Mom's documents had been her weapon. But love, fierce, protective, enduring love, had been her salvation, and that love would carry her forward, one day at a time, one triumph at a time, until her own legacy matched her mother's. The fight was over. The truth had won. And Elena Martinez's name would be remembered forever, not as a victim, but as a hero. If this story touched your heart, please click the like button. And what did you learn from this story? Write your thoughts in the comments.